Happy Thursday. Come on in, pull up a chair. The Daily Dope is in the air. Howdy, 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 gang. Yes, I'm Jeff McAleer, back once again as your host here at The Daily Dope, presented by thegaminggang.com, of which I happen to be the founder and editor-in-chief, otherwise known as the Grand Poobah. So, tonight is Thursday, July 11th. This is episode 331 of The Daily Dope. If this is the first time you've popped in to join me, let me point out this is a very, very casual live stream. I do talk about tabletop gaming. So tonight, I am actually going to be reviewing the Dungeons & Dragons Essentials Kit from Wizards of the Coast. So that will be coming up in just a bit. So, do want to mention, if this is your first time popping in, it's just a very casual show. I like to talk about tabletop gaming news, usually have a review or an unboxing, or maybe I page through an RPG core book or adventure. So, do want to point out that this is live, so that means that there is chat available. So, chat is available on YouTube. It is not on screen. It's one of the ways that I keep some of these stranger commenters at bay. But I do pay attention to chat. So, if you'd like to say howdy, or maybe you've got a question, or maybe there's something about the Essentials Kit that you'd like to get a closer look at or ask a question about, by all means, fire away and I will respond. Of course, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And of course, if you happen to like the channel, please subscribe. And of course, ring that little bell, because not only will that inform you when a new video has been uploaded, it will also tell you when a stream goes live. So for some reason, boom, boom, there we go. I've been messing around with stuff today. That's why I'm just a few minutes late tonight. But I was like, where's the little date? What's going on? Where's our little date overlay? So, anyway, as I said, if you like the channel, please subscribe. And of course, tell a friend, tell two friends. Because right now I am running a contest. And yes, I know we're talking about Wizards of the Coast tonight, but the contest is from Paizo. And I am actually giving away a core set for the Pathfinder Adventure Card Game. Not just one, possibly three. And it is the Adventure Card Game. This is the new edition that recently came out. So I not only have that, I also am giving out the first adventure path for the Pathfinder Adventure Card Game. This is Curse of the Crimson Throne. It's about 550 cards to this adventure path. And I've even got promo cards, yes. So I've got loads of goodies. So here's the contest. It's pretty easy to get into. Really don't have to do anything to win. Simply be a subscriber and comment on one of the Gaming Gang videos here on the channel between now and August 5th. So, I do have to hit 1,600 subscribers by August 5th for me to give out one copy of that prize package. Keeping in mind the contest is only open to people in the US and in Canada, because I'm on the hook for shipping. So, I can't really afford to be shipping stuff off to foreign countries all over, across the ponds. So, if I hit 1,600 subscribers, I will give away one copy of the prize package. If I happen to hit 1,800 subscribers, I will have two copies of the prize package to give out. And if I hit 2,000 subscribers, I know it's asking quite a bit, I will have three copies to give away. So, by all means, all you got to do is be a subscriber and comment on a video on the Gaming Gang channel. So somebody had emailed and they asked, well, how am I going to know if they're a subscriber and how will I know somebody commented? Well, number one, if you have a channel, you can actually click on a little tab. It will show you all your subscribers. And all I have to do is look at all the comments starting at the specific date. Now, this contest did kick off back, I want to say it was on, I think it was on the 3rd of July. I kicked the contest off. I think that's when I did. So anyway, so the other thing I want to point out is the more subscribers, the better chance that you have to win, actually. If you think about it, as opposed to, you know, one copy at 1,600. If I get to 2,000 subscribers, that's 3 copies. Better odds of winning. All right, so that is it for the contest. So I do have some news tonight. Kind of surprised. It's kind of quiet in chat so far. But, you know, it was funny. On last night's show, I had some folks popping into chat. They were in chat right off the bat. And they were talking about they were not getting the notification that the stream was going live. So I don't know. But I do have some tabletop gaming news I'm going to get into tonight. I know there are some folks out there who are not fans of the tabletop gaming news. If that is the case, and you are watching this after the fact, take a look at the show notes below. There are timestamps there, and you can skip ahead past the tabletop gaming news. There you go. Hey, Lead Magnet's popping in and says, hey, I got a notification that the stream went live. Cool beans. Good deal. So first off, there's a new edition of a solitaire game, probably a pretty good fit for coffee lovers out there. It's on the horizon from Stronghold Games, and I've got the dope. Hey, what's going on here? Let's go. Boom, there we go. It's like, what's going on here? Oh, hey, and before I jump to the news, we get Scott Thompson popping in. Nick Parsons is popping in as well. Good deal. Welcome to chat. Enjoy. So let's jump into the news, because Coffee Roaster is a solitaire pool building game. You choose a variety of coffee beans you want to roast and put a number of tokens specific to that variety into a bag. Each turn, you draw a number of bean tokens randomly from the bag to advance their roast level. When you're finished, you make a cup testing to check the taste of your coffee and score points accordingly. Right, so that was strange. So it is showing that our connection had dropped. That's very, very strange. So, But we reconnected fast enough that when this stream actually renders, it'll just all be one video. That's very, very bizarre. Anyway, I was saying that you have to screen out smoke tokens and burnt bean tokens. You have to control the contents of your bag utilizing flavor effects and unique effects caused by placing tokens on the roast board. Okay, there are 22 varieties of beans in the game. In one game, you try to roast 3 of them, and your roaster title is awarded based on the total score. Enjoy the world of coffee roasting and aim for the ultimate title, Meister. I am the Coffee Meister. Coffee Roaster is for 1 player. Yep, it is. Ages 12 and up and plays in about 30 minutes. The game is going to release in October. It's going to carry an MSRP of $44.95. So I have seen this game originally came out, I want to say, I think 2016. But it was not a Stronghold game. So I am not sure if we are going to have the same kind of art style as the images I'm sharing right now. I think we might. Although I know a lot of times Stephen Bonacore likes to beef up the graphic content of some of the games that they enter into partnerships with companies for. So a game that is coming out August 1st that has really been on my radar is from Free League Publishing, and they'll be releasing Crusader Kings, which is based on the hit Paradox Interactive PC game. As I mentioned, it's coming out August 1st, and I've got the dope. You are a Crusader king striving for wealth, political power, religious influence, and military might across the continent and across generations. Reshape the history of medieval Europe in your own image. If only that dim-witted son of yours, set to inherit the throne, doesn't spoil your grand plans. The board game Crusader Kings captures the essence of the Crusader Kings video game experience in a physical tabletop format. This is a strategy game at heart, but with a special focus on characters, intrigue, and drama. It's a big, beautiful game centered on a map of medieval Europe, using cards for actions, characters, and events, and well-crafted plastic miniatures to represent knights, armies, castles, and more. In this game, your goal is to spread your influence over medieval Europe and lead your dynasty to triumph over its rivals. To do that, you need to groom your family over the generations, build and develop your dominion, be shrewd in the realm of diplomacy and intrigue, and use your vassals wisely to grow your wealth and military power, while at the same time fulfilling your duty to partake in the crusades to the Holy Land. Nice. To win, you need to survive invasions, plots, crusades, and even marriage. Or at least have children or siblings standing by to take over the throne if your regent dies. Failure to raise a suitable heir can mean the end of your dynasty. Crusader Kings is for 3 to 5 players, ages 14 and up, plays in 2 to 3 hours, and will carry an MSRP of $74.49 when it arrives on August 1st. I got my fingers crossed that Free League is going to be sending along a review copy of this, because I actually had an opportunity to do a special press event at last year's Gen Con. We got to play this a little bit, and it did look pretty interesting. And I have to say, I play the Crusader Kings PC game, so I did get a kick out of well, of course, it was prototype. It was nowhere near being finished. But I did get a kick out of how you'll reach into a bag and pull out traits for your characters. And some traits were good, and other traits were very bad. So I look forward to checking this out. So I've got a couple of news pieces regarding Modiphius Entertainment. First off, they've got a new role-playing game system and setting, which is supposed to be arriving this fall. And here's the dope on Liminal. Liminal is a new tabletop role-playing game about those on the boundary between the modern-day United Kingdom and the hidden world. The world of secret societies of magicians, a police division investigating Fortean crimes, fake courts, werewolf gangs, and haunted places where the walls between worlds are thin. The magical world of Liminal has a basis in British and Irish folklore and legends, along with ghost stories and modern-day takes on the supernatural in fiction. Inspirations include the real-world fantasy novels of Ben Aronovich, Jim Butcher, Emma Bull, Susanna Clarke, Harry Conley, Neil Gaiman, Benedict Jacka, and Helene Wecker. Or I should say Wecker, not Wrecker, Wecker. In the game, players portray liminals, those who stand between the mortal and magical realms with ties to each. Examples include a magician who acts as a warden to protect unaware mortals from supernatural menaces, someone of mysterious birth who is perhaps half fae, caught up in fairy politics, whether they like it or not, a burglar who steals supernatural relics, a werewolf who still has many ties to ordinary people, a vampire striving to do good despite their vampiric infection, a moral detective who knows some of the real strangeness out there. The player character liminals form a crew, sharing knowledge and assets with common goals. Together, the crew takes on cases, navigates the machinations of competing factions, and deals with the affairs of the hidden world, especially as it affects the ordinary world at large. These cases further both the goals of the crew and the drives of its individual members. Major factions include the Council of Merlin, Britain's oldest, richest, and most traditional magical order. It dates back to just after the fall of Roman rule in Britain, and regards other magical groups as unworthy of note. The Court of the Queen of Hyde Park, who claims to rule over all fae in London and to be influential in other fae courts throughout Britain. P Division, an obscure division of the UK police force handling paranormal crimes in the mundane world. Those in the mainstream police regard P Division as cranks, and a posting there is a career dead end. Sounds kind of like the laundry, doesn't it? But P Division knows how vital their work is. The Sodality of the Crown, a cabal of vampires who work behind the scenes to influence both national and international politics. The Order of St. Bede, a church organization who not only act against supernatural threats to ordinary people, but labor to cover up all evidence of the supernatural, especially magicians who perform their magic too blatantly. The hardcover liminal core book will arrive in October and carry an MSRP of $50. So, this sounds really unique, very interesting. I wish I knew a little bit more about the system. There was a lot more to the sell sheet, talking about the system, but not really going into the meat and potatoes of the system. So I almost have an impression it could be sort of based on, might be kind of powered by the apocalypse. Reason why I mention that is because there are a couple of, I don't want to say adventures, they're like case files. I am sharing the slides for, the images for, and they're like PDFs, but they're only like $1.99. So they don't strike me as they're like full-blown adventures. And that's usually kind of how a powered by the apocalypse game works. You have, a few pages of notes and things like that. This does sound pretty cool. Something else that I ran across, distributors are saying that this comes out in October and it's going to have an MSRP of $50. The Modiphius website says this is sold out and carries like a $45 MSRP. So I don't know, pretty weird. I have no idea. I mean, usually I believe the distributor, but I don't know. There is a quick start though. So if you are interested, you can download the quick start. So Xcelera X1, who I like to just say X1, is in chat, and so is Flaming Huron. Good to have you joining me. Got a little group going. That's cool. So the other bit of Modiphius news is they've teamed up with Bundle of Holding to bring you massive savings on Conan, Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of. And here's the dope. Adventura! This Conan Essentials bundle brings you the core rulebook and key supplements for the tabletop fantasy role-playing game Robert E. Howard's Conan Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of from Modiphius Entertainment. Based on the famous sword and sorcery creations of pulp master Robert E. Howard, and using the cinematic 2D20 rule system from Infinity and Mutant Chronicles, just named two, the Conan RPG was funded in a February 2016 Kickstarter, the most popular Modiphius campaign to date. An Aquilonian legion of designers, Howard experts, and superb Conan artists, have helped make the Modiphius Conan an authentic RPG of Hyborian Age adventure. For just $9.95, you get all 3 titles in this offer's starter collection as DRM-free ebooks, including the complete 436-page Conan Adventures in an Age Undreamed Of core rulebook, the Conan Game Master Toolkit, and the map bundle. And if you pay more than this offer's threshold price of $25.34, you will level up and also get this offer's entire bonus collection with 4 more supplements worth an additional $58, including the location book, Ancient Ruins and Cursed Cities, the Sorcery Sourcebook, the Book of Skelos, the Bestiary, Horrors of the Hyborian Age, and Nameless Cults. Together, they're everything you need for a complete Hyborian campaign. And to follow in Conan's footsteps across the known world, look for the companion offer that is also in progress, Conan Hyborian Ways. It is another bundle with campaign sourcebooks and kingdom guides. Of course, 10% of each payment after gateway fees for these 2 Conan offers will be donated to the charity chosen by Chris Birch of Modiphius Entertainment, Vision Rescue. So, really good opportunity to save some bucks on what I consider to be an excellent role-playing game system. I have to admit, though, the John Carter of Mars 2D20 is a bit more streamlined than Conan. I gotta be honest, I would like to see a little bit of a revamp with Conan to kind of go with the more of the streamlined, like John Carter, but I don't know. I highly doubt that we'll ever see that. But yeah, so that's a great opportunity to save some serious dough on the Conan PDFs. I think off the top of my head, I could have swore just the core book itself is like a $30 PDF normally on DriveThruRPG. So getting that and the Game Master's Toolkit and the map bundle for $9.95 is a pretty sweet deal. Really is. All right, so as I mentioned, I am going to be reviewing the D&D Essentials Kit in just a few moments. On tomorrow's show, I already mentioned the contest I've got for it, but on tomorrow's show, I will actually be reviewing the Pathfinder Adventure Card Game, the new edition. I'm going to be reviewing the core set. I will give you a hint. We played a lot of it over the weekend, over the 4-day holiday weekend I had. Then on Monday's show, I will be reviewing Robotech Attack on the SDF-1 from Japanime Games. Then I will be off the rest of the week because I will be out in San Diego covering Comic-Con. So I will not be back with a new show until a week from next Tuesday. So I'll have a show next Monday, then I will be off an exact week, 7 days. So just so folks know, do want to mention that I do have some standalone videos that I've been kind of sharing. I will have some next week as well. I'm going to try to have them pre-uploaded and ready so that I can kind of share those each day when I'm out at Comic-Con. Because when I'm out in San Diego, there's no uploading anything because it is just crazy. And we usually don't get back into the room. We usually get about 6 hours of sleep every day we're out there. So yeah, and quite a few adult beverages as well. So did want to mention, if you haven't caught the video, I did a quick unboxing video for the War of the Worlds, the USA East Coast edition from Dan Games. Shot it last night and uploaded it last night because I want to dig into that and take a quick peek and play it a bit. So I am looking forward to that. Today's been a weird day. I'm a little discombobulated today. My sister-in-law had to go in and have surgery this afternoon, so she's going to spend the next night, maybe next 2 nights, in the hospital. So I was running around a lot of the day, so I didn't have my usual prep time to get ready for the show. So sorry if I'm coming across as a little out there today. Anyway, do want to mention before I jump into my review that if you do follow thegaminggang.com, if you visit the Gaming Gang channel here on YouTube all the time, you watch the Daily Dope, then you already know this is pretty much a not-for-profit endeavor. So if you like the site, if you like the channel, if you like the show and the videos, please consider making a small donation to Lil Bub's Big Fund and the American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals. Yes, Lil Bub's Big Fund does provide grant money to organizations throughout the United States who care for special needs animals who are awaiting adoption. That's right. These animals might require extra attention, medication. They could be blind. They could be deaf. They might be long in the tooth. But regardless, they do deserve to find good forever homes, and they have plenty of love to give. That's what Lil Bub's Big Fund is all about. So if you dig the Gaming Gang, if you dig the Daily Dope, by all means, please consider making a small donation to Lil Bub's Big Fund. If you do, be sure to shoot me an email. My email address is right there in the corner. It's jeffmcaleer@thegaminggang.com. Feel free to let me know if you make a donation. I'll be more than happy to give you a special shout out on the following show. Also, do want to point out, if you ever have a question or anything like that, you can always shoot me an email. It is all right. So the Madman has arrived as well. So Madman's in chat. Good deal, good deal. All right, so I know people are going to be tuning in because they want to check out my review of the Dungeons & Dragons Essentials Kit from Wizards of the Coast. It is, well, let's say the contents are for 2 to 6 players, ages 12 and up. It's a role-playing game, so it doesn't have a specific amount of playtime. It does carry an MSRP of $24.99. This is currently a Target exclusive. It will be coming to other retailers on September 3rd, but until then, you can only get this from Target. So let's move on over to the other camera. So what I have done, I have taken pretty much everything that's in the Essentials Kit out. We're going to go through some of these items real quickly, and then we're going to dive into both the rule book as well as the adventure book. So I have to point out that when I first opened up the box for the unboxing, if you checked out the unboxing video, I was very impressed. I was sort of like, wow, there's quite a bit in here. And for $25, keeping in mind, it carries an MSRP of $24.99. So we've got character sheets, we've got some pre-gens as well, and gotta say that paper quality is nice on these. We actually rolled up some characters, and so Madman's like, it's not just an empty box. No, Madman, this is not the Stranger Things Dungeons & Dragons kit or box. So so I have to be honest, I reviewed the Stranger Things D&D box that they had sent out, and I want to say the MSRP on that was like $20. It was terrible. It was awful. It was pretty much kind of like a box full of air. Terrible little miniature, 2 miniatures actually. Both of them were horrible. So I was like super pleasantly surprised when I cracked this open. But here's the thing. That Stranger Things box was a Hasbro gaming release. Yes, it had Dungeons & Dragons on it, but it was not really produced by the core D&D team at Wizards of the Coast. This was. So Jorge Rodriguez has popped in. Good to see you again, Jorge. Thanks for joining me. So anyway, so we get some pre-gens, we get some character sheets, move that out of the way. We do get a map. It's a player's map that we can utilize. So we've got a Sword Coast map. Then we also have a map of the town of Fandalen, or Fandalen, however you want to pronounce it. The adventure is going to take place in the same locale as the Lost Mines of Fendelver. So that's kind of interesting how that has been done. You could conceivably take the Lost Mines of Fendelver as well as the Dragon of Icespire Peak right here and combine them as kind of a massive adventure. That is very possible because, like I said, same area. So this is the player map because we will actually have a GM map in the adventure as well. So nothing is marked off on this map here. So decent quality. I mean, it's just paper map. It's got a finish to it. I can't say it's going to hold up to, tons and tons of play, but better than some maps I've seen. So I have to be very honest about that. So we've got that. Then we've got, let's do the GM's screen here. Oh, I'm sorry, DM screen, the Dungeon Master screen, because it is cardboard, it is card stock. It's got a bit of a finish to it. Honestly, I mean, come on, this isn't going to be the kind of Dungeon Master screen that you'd be going out and spending like, whoa, as we zoom way too far in. There we go. This isn't the kind of DM screen you're gonna you'd be blowing $14 or more, $15 or more on. This is just a very basic Dungeon Master screen. It's got a lot of good info on it, though. I'll be the first to admit that. So we've got the 4 panels Then we've got artwork that's facing the players. So we've got that. So then we have a set of dice. So we've got 11 dice. I was very happy to see that we've got multiple six-sided dice, which we never see really in starter sets with dice. So you get 11 dice. I really like that fact. And you got 4 six-sided dice. So when you ask somebody to roll up their character, you don't have to make them re-roll that same six-sided die that you got with a starter set over and over and over again. So Lead Magnet saying it's a good set. Madman saying nice artwork. Jorge says the map looks all right. DM screen's good though. This is packed with stuff. For 25 bucks, I have to admit, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more so we can look at these cards. For $25, I think this is just jam-packed with value. So we get these cards, which you had to kind of tear apart. They were perforated on these sheets. Not fantastic. I'll be the first to point out, and I've mentioned this time and time again, I am not somebody who tends to utilize cards in role-playing games. I don't tend to use miniatures in role-playing games either. I'm more theater of the mind kind of gamer. But we do get 3 copies of a combat step-by-step guide for the players. So you can give that to the players to kind of give them an idea of, okay, so what happens? So we got surprise, establishing positions, rolling initiative, taking your turns, and then on to the next round. So pretty simple. Then we have a deck of cards which show different conditions. Got a little bit of artwork. So I got a kick out of that. So it's showing like unconscious, stunned, poisoned, prone, restrained, deafened. Well, it's like, what? Eh? Huh? What is that? What was that, Sonny? Charmed, incapacitated. So if you flip it over here, and it'll tell you, so for an example, invisible. It tells you, okay, so these are the actual game mechanics for that condition. Paralyzed, petrified, frightened, grappled. It's a running joke I've had for years. Do we really need grappling rules? Do we need all these different like hand-to-hand combat rules? Incapacitated, blinded, charmed, deafened, restrained, and so on. So you've got those cards as well. Then we have, which I thought, actually this wasn't a bad idea. We've got the initiative deck. So depending on when each player is going in the round, you can hand them a card indicating the initiative, who's going when. So I thought that was kind of cool. Then we have some cards that start actually focusing on the adventure itself. So we've got some quest cards. I'm going to put those off to the side. I will talk about these when we get into the adventure that comes with it. Got magic items. Now, one thing I was disappointed with here is with the magic items, we don't have any images on any of these cards. And there are a bunch of magic items. You know, I'm the sort of person where it's like, okay, so if you're going to have cards, and this is supposed to be a big deal, right? Because now you've got the Wand of Secrets. That's your, that's treasure you got. It's, some booty that you got. I would prefer, if we're using these cards, that we have some artwork on it. Yes, I understand it's going to raise the cost, but I mean, come on. They didn't have stock art for a potion of healing laying around, or invulnerability, cloaks, +1 shield. Come on. So we've got all the different magic items that we will find in the adventure book. From what I could tell, and I'm not positive, because I am not necessarily the most well-versed in all things 5th edition, It did not look like there were new magic items in the adventure. It all looked like they're book items, which to me is a little bit disappointing. I always like to see some new art. There are some new monsters. I will point that out. There's some new monsters in it. Okay, then we've got what a lot of people are considering this as a big selling point for this Essentials Kit, and that is the sidekicks, because there's kind of a push to be able to run Dungeons and Dragons adventures just with one dungeon master and one player. I don't know why they're making a big deal about this, and when we get into the rulebook and the adventure, I will show you why. But we do have a selection of sidekicks that can be utilized, and essentially, they're just really non-player characters that the player has more control over, as opposed to, say, hirelings or henchmen, minions, things like that. So we get each of the characters, and we get some information about them as well. So we get their personality, an ideal, a bond, and flaw. Talking about these various different characters that if you need to add additional player characters to the adventure, you can, and you can utilize these as sidekicks. So that is the deck of cards. As I mentioned before, I don't use really any cards and things like that in my gaming, but once again, it was a nice addition. It really is a nice addition. Although, like I said, I would have liked to have seen some artwork on the magic item cards, especially since, the players are going to be hanging on to those. So those are the cards there. Now we've got the rule book and we've got the adventure book. So I'm going to back out a little bit here, and we will look at the Essentials Kit rulebook. Now, one of the first things that I will point out is usually in a starter set, beginner box, however you want to consider it, we find there are usually no rules for actually creating your character. Usually have pre-generated characters. You got a rule book that it's usually kind of a quick start rule book, and I'm not knocking these. I'm just pointing out this is usually how we see the starter sets, the beginner boxes operate. Not so here. This is kind of a trimmed down player's handbook. So it talks about an overview of the game, how to play, talking about dice, the core rule, some various different rules to remember, and we get right into creating a character. Now, the way Wizards of the Coast likes to look at character creation is that you should devote a game session to creating the characters. I'm not a believer in that, but that's just me. I'm more kind of old school, so I don't necessarily need my players to have like these big, long backstories that they've spent hours concocting, because to me, the actual adventuring is going to give them the backstory. I don't mind if they've got like some ideas of a background in their heads. It's just I'm not there to role play their backstory. I'm there to role play and run an adventure. So when my players created characters, we were done within 45 minutes and we were ready to start playing. So anyway, we go through the entire creation process, talking about all aspects. We don't get all of the races, we don't get all of the classes, but we do get the core. We get the dwarf, we get the elf, we get the halfling, we get the humans, we get the bard. I was surprised we get the bard. We also get the bard, the cleric, the magic user, or I think they just consider it a wizard now, fighter, and the rogue. But we still get a good amount of detail about each of the character classes. We get a variety of backgrounds as well. So Madman says, as a DM, I let them get as creative as they want. It's done outside the game night. Yeah, I agree. That's how I look at it too. And as long as, here's the other thing, because more modern role playing tends to focus more on the characters, and to me, sometimes it's like the adventure is almost like a side trek as opposed to the characters in that. Whereas when you're old school, when you tend to take a more old school approach, then the characters, they don't take a back seat to the adventure. It's just they become fleshed out by the adventures they go on. I would prefer to have them fleshed out by the adventures that they experience at the game table as opposed to things that they just make up. Another thing about people and their backstories is I do not like to have somebody's backstory try to interfere with what's going on in the game itself. Thankfully, I've not seen my players do that kind of stuff, but I have run across that because I'll watch every once in a while in like an actual play, or I'll listen to an actual play, and sometimes I can tell where it's sort of like, well, okay, suddenly the backstory is kind of derailing where and I'm not saying they're being railroaded. I'm just saying somebody getting like all into their backstory kind of all of a sudden gets to where they're like fighting the dungeon master or game master as far as the direction the story is going to go. So yeah, Flaming Heron says, why the bard, you say? I sent some bard hate. No, I've got absolutely no bard hate. None whatsoever. Seriously, I don't. I would have just thought that maybe we would have seen the ranger over the bard, maybe the paladin, but I would think the ranger over the bard. Simply because you've got so many fans of Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit who gravitate towards Dungeons and Dragons. So, okay, so we get first pages are all devoted to creating the character. I love the backgrounds. We've got some different tables that you can roll for the backgrounds. So I was very impressed that the players right off the bat, they have the ability to create their own characters. It's not just, okay, here's your pre-gens. You're going to learn how to play this game with the pre-gens. Hey, Kabuki Kid's popping in. Good to see you, Kabuki Kid. So, yep, the Madman says, I've had great groups, no issues with backstory. And that's cool. And it, to be honest, it usually doesn't happen. But I think you folks know the sort of player I'm talking about. It's probably not necessarily going to be welcome at your gaming table. So then we get playing the game. So it's really talking about advantage, disadvantage, talking about different checks, giving you examples of the attribute checks, talking about resting, the difference between the short rest and the long rest. Very short section on combat, which is fine with me. As you can tell, you're getting a little bit of glare here because the paper does have a finish to it. The quality of the books compared to the starter set that came out a few years ago, which I thought was great. I really did. I really thought that was really, really well done. But the difference between the rulebook and the Dragon of Icespire Peak Adventure compared to the starter set, night and day. Really, really night and day. Because those were just regular paper books. They have a spine. These are the sort of soft cover book you would expect to, and I hate to bring the company up while we're talking about a Wizards of the Coast adventure and product, but along the lines of an Adventure Path book from Paizo. Very similar, although the page has a much more slick finish to it. So, then we get into different gear. We don't get a ton of gear. Unfortunately, we don't get any images of the weapons either, which I always love. I always love when in a fantasy game shares images of the different kinds of swords and pole arms and things like that. You know, not everybody knows the difference between a morning star and a flail. So then we get into the spells. So we had our magic spells here, and essentially, just in this book here, you've got enough info to pretty much take your characters up to like about 6th level, which is pretty interesting because I could have sworn, it's been a long time since I looked through it, but I could have sworn Lost Mines of Fendelver, I think you went to 3rd level? About 3rd level in that. So we get all the spells in here, and that's pretty much where we're going to wrap up. We get some sidekick stat blocks here. So I was going to talk about the sidekick, and what I'll do is I'll kind of get into it a bit when I pop into the adventure here. But throughout the rule book, the Essentials rule book, there's really not much of a reference to the sidekicks. And I know people are out there saying, wow, it's a big selling point of this. And Wizards of the Coast isn't necessarily pushing that. But I have heard some people through the grapevine talking about how, one of the big things that they love about this are the sidekick rules. I'll show you the sidekick rules. And anybody who's been running role-playing games for any length of time knows how to run an adventure with one other player or maybe 2 other players. You just have NPCs. I mean, it's like, when did that become like such a revolutionary idea? So we've got the adventure here. The adventure clocks in at 64 pages. So pretty much the same exact length as you would find in a Pathfinder Adventure Path supplement. So talking about the adventure itself, an introduction to the Forgotten Lands. So now here's our map. Here's the Dungeon Master's map of the area, and it is marked with different encounter locations. So here we go. Running for 1 player using sidekicks. This is pretty much the extent. These paragraphs right here is the extent of the information talking about running D&D for one game master, 1 player. Like, okay, I don't know how this is a selling point. I'm not knocking it. Don't get me wrong. It's just I don't see this as a selling point. Maybe for somebody who just is super brand new to role-playing games, maybe that is kind of a selling point. But I mean, really, this is kind of all the information we get. So it kind of gives us some character options as well. So, like I said, I thought it was kind of interesting that we've got kind of like the same starting area as we did for the Lost Mine of Fendelver. This, I believe, is supposed to take place after that adventure. The Madman says just create 2 characters to be run by 1 person. That is another option that people have taken. I have played that way in the past as a player, not for D&D, but for some other systems. This is a long time ago. But I know some people don't like that. Some people are just... But then again, these are the people who invest hours and hours into their backstories as well. They don't want to role play more than 1 character. They just want to have 1 character. So, talking about the quest. Now remember, of course I put these in I put the quest back in here after I set them on the side. So, the player characters... Now, I will point out that this adventure is pretty linear. It's stuck together. There we go. Okay. But the players aren't being completely railroaded everywhere. So when they're in the town, and there's quite a bit of info about the town, so that's kind of cool. So, but they're gonna find a job board. And there are these different quests that are available to them. So they'll start off and they'll have 3 quests that are available, and they can tackle these quests in whatever order they would like. Kind of has a video game quality to it a little bit, but especially since once the players have completed 2 of the 3 quests, that will unlock more quests. So that's what I mean. It's kind of got a little bit of a video game quality to it. But the quests are pretty interesting. One thing, as I mentioned, the overall adventure is relatively linear. The big baddie is a young white dragon. That's why you will find that the characters are going to level further than 3rd level to tackle that white dragon. Even though it is a youngin', it is going to be a very, very tough challenge for the players. Easily could end up in a total party kill. That could happen. Another thing about the white dragon too is that the players may encounter the dragon at different locations. So it's not where it's like, okay, so yeah, I apologize, I'm giving spoilers out here, but the dragon can kind of show up like as a wandering monster. Not that the players are going to be able to really get rid of the young dragon right then and there, but it's not going to just pop out at the end where it's like, oh look, it's a dragon. So there are a good amount of various, I don't want to say tropes of Dungeons and Dragons, but there's a lot of typical sort of D&D encounters. Now, I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm just saying that we're looking at we've got some outdoor, we've got some locations, we've got some town encounters, we've got a little bit of little dungeon delving, no huge dungeons. So for an example, like we've got the hunting lodge, got another like kind of cavern area. And although it's basically you're looking at the players are going to go from A to B to C to D, they do have some choices in how they go about that. So they get to battle in the snow-covered mountains. They get to be on beaches. They're in a loggers camp. So there's all different areas that they're going to get to travel to as well. So I really like that fact. There is a lot of gaming material in here as well. I will point out, I don't find this adventure to be perfectly suited to a first-time dungeon master. I think it's going to require a little more prep work than they would think is on the horizon for them, I guess I would say. That said, I find the adventure to be pretty good. As far as if I compare it to Lost Mines of Phendelver, I actually like this adventure more, simply because there's just more to do, and the characters are actually going to be involved in this campaign storyline much longer than they will for Lost Mines of Phendelver. So you're going to get way more sessions of adventuring in this. I do find that, and I'm not a big fan of this anyway, like challenge ratings and balancing encounters and things like that. I like I said, I come from like the old school Renaissance or revival or whatever you want to consider it, kind of line of thinking where I don't mind having an encounter that just the player characters have to run away or try to outsmart it. They can't just fight everything, because that's how the world should operate. It shouldn't be that they're everywhere they go. It's like it's just challenging enough that it's not a cakewalk, but it's also not going to destroy the entire party. Some of the encounters are not balanced all that well, for the level that the characters are supposed to be at that point. Also, of course, with 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, you've got the opportunity where you can either use experience points or you can use milestones to level up the characters. I hear from people, a lot more people use milestones to level up characters as opposed to experience points. I'm kind of surprised by that. I really am. So we get a bit of a bestiary here as well. So we do get Some new monsters. I think the blights are new. I think the twig and the vine blights are new. At least new for 5th edition. Because I seem to remember weren't there... I thought there was like a like blight creatures that was in... what is it? It's an early 3rd edition adventure. I forget what it's called. So anyway, so we get some NPC characters. Yeah, giant rat. That's new. That's a new monster. No, it's not. Of course, it's not. The Thunder Boar, Gorthok, the Thunder Boar. That's new. So, pretty nice artwork throughout. I like the fact that in the bestiary here, we pretty much have images for just about everything you're running across outside of things that would be normal world. So like a boar or cow. I don't think we necessarily need to see images of that. So like I said, artwork's nice throughout both of the books. The art also pretty standard. It doesn't vary a whole lot in quality. Don't have a ton of artwork in the adventure itself, but we do have a bit in the rule book. I know some people don't care about artwork. I like to have nice artwork, but then again, I don't like to feel like I'm getting cheated either. So we've got the adventure, we got the rule book, we got the deck of cards, we got the dice, we got the cardboard DM screen, we got the player's map, we got character sheets, and that is pretty much what we find when we take everything from the Essentials Kit outside the box. So, now that we've seen it, now that I've talked about it a bit, what are my thoughts and what is my review score? So, I personally think that this is the nicest introduction I have ever seen to Dungeons and Dragons. So, I will be the first to point out that from 1st edition to 5th edition, I really did not have any exposure to Dungeons and Dragons. I had a little bit to 3.5, a little bit to 4, but I wasn't reading the books or anything like that. So I think this is a fantastic introduction. Do want to mention they've got D&D Beyond, which is not something that I've played around with a lot. I should talk to somebody at Gen Con when I chat with folks from Wizards. See if we can maybe kind of delve into it a little bit, because I think a lot of people are kind of up in the air with what D&D Beyond is. I thought it's supposed to be like a Roll20 Fantasy Grounds kind of thing. I might be wrong, but I will point out that there is a coupon in the Essentials Kit so that you can get the adventure on D&D Beyond absolutely free. There's also a 50% off coupon for the Player's Handbook on D&D Beyond. So anyway, so this is the nicest introductory product I have seen for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. Love the fact that they give you plenty of dice. So that is cool. You get a couple of 20-sided dice so you can take care of your advantage or your disadvantage. So I like that. You get 4 D6s, although I'm a pip guy. I don't necessarily want numbers on my 6-siders, which is weird. It's very, very weird. Madman says, sounds like a good mix of locations. In the adventure, it is. The adventure covers a lot of different areas, a lot of different terrain, a lot of different environments. It provides a lot of different types of encounters. So you've got some that are more social encounters. You've got some that are going to require combat. You have some that might require neither. Might require a little more thinking as opposed to role-playing conversations and things like that. So I like the adventure a lot. I think the adventure is really well done. I like the fact that there are rules for you to create characters, even though not every class and not every culture is covered in the book. But the essential rules there pretty much lay out anything you need to know to run D&D. And I got to be honest, it'll take a while before somebody needs to really start busting out a player's handbook or monster manual or dungeon master's guide. And with what information is in this box, you can run quite a few sessions of Dungeons and Dragons and run it well. I was really, really pleasantly surprised by the Essentials Kit, especially following the debacle, in my opinion, that the Dungeons and Dragons Stranger Things box was. That was just... I was shocked. I was shocked at how poor that product was, in my opinion. So, when it all boils down to it, on a scale of 1 to 10, get ready. I give the Dungeons & Dragons Essentials Kit a 10 out of 10. I really do. And I'll tell you why. I already told you it's jam-packed with content. But if you look at the price point is $24.95. So let's say $25. For $25, you normally will get one soft cover adventure path supplement. So from Paizo. So Paizo normally will break up their Pathfinder campaigns into 6 parts. So each one of those parts is 64 pages, just like this book. It is printed pretty much just like this book. And those are $25. And I'm not knocking that. I'm just pointing out that's the price point for a supplement for an adventure path for Pathfinder. For $25, you not only got the adventure, you got a bunch of dice, you got a little Dungeon Master screen, which I know people are going to complain, well, yeah, it's just like cardstock, though. I get it. But you know what? They didn't have to put it in there. I mean, I got to be honest. They didn't have to include this, and it would still be a good value. You also get the rule book that definitely lays everything out, makes everything pretty much clear as day as far as running Dungeons and Dragons. I think it's a fantastic product. I really do. One thing I would mention, and I talked about this while we were looking through the book, I don't know why people are crowing about the sidekick concept to D&D. It's something that I would expect, anybody who's played D&D or role-playing games would understand how to do. It's not like this is some revolutionary thing. Other aspect I do want to point out, too, is that first-time Dungeon Masters might find the adventure a little bit tricky. Might take them a little bit of time to come to grasp with how to prep for it. So, all right. So, what else we got going on here? Seeing what's going on in chat. So, the Madman says he agrees with my thoughts on this, as well as the Stranger Things starter set. And doesn't understand the sidekick excitement either. I could understand why people would be pumped about it if there was really more to it. If there really were, like, just, mechanics and content that's really, really driven towards that, wow, one-on-one. There isn't. But I mean, I remember in high school running, well, maybe I guess we'll say it was Dungeons and Dragons with one person, and of course they had other characters and things like that. It's, kind of a given. So anyway, so I have to say, if you have any interest whatsoever in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, this is an excellent product. If you are already a 5th edition fan, you should pick it up because of the adventure that's included with it. Because this would be a $25 adventure anyway. You just get all the other goodies, including another nice set of dice thrown in as a bonus. All right, so that is it for tonight's show. As I mentioned, on tomorrow's show, I will be reviewing the Pathfinder Adventure Card Game from Paizo Inc. So, and as I said before, give you a hint, it's really good. Also, don't forget, make sure you subscribe to the Gaming Gang channel. Make sure you comment on one of the videos by August 5th because I'm doing the giveaway. I talked about the contest early on in the show, one of the first things I talked about. So Kabuki Kid says, like the old basic D&D sets, they were a great way to get into the game. I was playing advanced. I did play as a player. I did play a little bit of Redbox way back in the day. I played some, I think it was Redbox. Maybe it's Blue Box. I don't know. I always had Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So that was my first experience. I've talked about on other shows that the first Dungeons and Dragons product I ever bought was G1, the setting of the Hill Giant Chieftain. Yeah, it is Chieftain. And I thought, oh, wow, this is the game. So I was like, oh, cool. So I bought it. I got it home. I was like, what is it? I have to have other books? Oh, wow. And of course, I, ended up buying the books too. So, okay. Redbox came a couple years after the Magenta box. I don't know. I just remember, I think it was just basic. It wasn't expert. I know that. I know it wasn't the expert. So, anyway. So there you have it. As I like to point out, when you're not watching videos on the Gaming Gang channel, be sure to visit thegaminggang.com for all the latest in gaming news, reviews, comics, movies, TV. By now, you know the drill. Get your geek on at thegaminggang.com. Everybody who was hanging out in chat, thank you very much. I definitely appreciate it. Kabuki Kid says BX came out in 81. I gotta say I was in 8th grade. I remember I was in 8th grade as far as the basic or whatever, but that would not have been 81. I think that'd been like 80. Anyway, like I said, those of you in chat, thank you very much for keeping me company. Of course, if you were watching live and didn't jump in chat, come on, why not? We don't bite. And of course, I love everybody who watches the show after the fact as well. So enjoy the rest of your Thursday night. And of course, until I see you next time, take care. Thanks again for watching The Daily Dope, presented by The Gaming Gang. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a quick thumbs up. And if you dig the channel, please subscribe. If you'd like to check out our previous episode, click right here. And if you want to check out a somewhat randomly selected episode, give a click right down here. It'll be like opening a box of Cracker Jacks. You just don't know what you'll get. Once again, thanks for watching, and I'm Jeff McAleer.